Behind towering walls and royal halls, some stories were never buried. From abandoned castles cloaked in mist to grand palaces echoing with whispers of the past, these places hold secrets that refuse to stay silent. Guests have reported shadowy figures drifting through corridors, phantom footsteps in empty chambers, and chilling encounters with spirits said to belong to kings, queens, prisoners, and betrayed souls trapped between history and legend. So keep the lights on, because tonight we step inside the world's most haunted castles and palaces, and some of them may still be occupied. My name is Graeme Milne.
My name is Karen Swanston.
And welcome to Lights On, Still Scared.
It is well known. Most people, I'm sure, know about this place, and it's a place I visited many times in my youth because it was a favourite of my dear departed mama.
Right.
Hampton Court Palace.
Yes.
Have you been?
I have. Yeah. Many years ago.
Yes. So
I was very young, so my memory is somewhat vague.
Yes. So, I mean, it started off being built by Cardinal Wolsey. In early 1500s, who was the chief minister for Henry VIII. And he designed it as a luxurious Tudor palace to impress and entertain. So he wanted to show off, basically, his wealth and everything. So in 1529, Wolsey fell out of power and gifted the palace to Henry VIII. Now, I somehow think perhaps he didn't gift it. Perhaps Henry VIII said, I'm going to have that, thank you very much. It's mine.
I think you're probably right.
Indeed. And he transformed it into a grand royal residence. And he hosted lavish feasts and court life and important political events there as well. That's what it was known for. And it was during that period that the Great Hall and the kitchens date back to that period.
Right.
So that bit by the kitchens, though, if I remember lightly, it was a couple of years since I've been there, but part of that corridor is outside,
right.
But it's still quite dark, and that I don't like that bit at all. So it's by the kitchens, and I think it goes on just outside the chapel as well. That little bit gets my spidey spookies going anyway. So the Tudor legacy, obviously he's got his wife's there, and obviously the hauntings are meant to be several of his wives there. It's associated with Catherine of Aragon, which I think was, I can't remember which one she was. Was she the third one, I think?
I'll be honest, I always get completely confused.
Do get confused
so
with the
bloody many of
Catherines.
them.
Yes.
But seriously, I do get confused. But
I do. So I think she was the third wife, and then you've got the famous Anne Boleyn.
Yes.
And then you've got Catherine Howard.
Yes.
So yes, I mean, Hampton Court at that period was the height of court life and drama.
A very terrifying place to be, I'm sure, for some people.
It was, yes. So back in the 1600s, the Stuart period, it was then renovated and modernised by William III and Mary II into the palace. And it was commissioned by Christopher Wren. I didn't know that.
Either did I, actually.
No.
Good.
So, and then they added on the Baroque style extension, which creates the mixture that it's got, because it's a bit of a weird place, Hampton Court, architect wise, because at the front you've got all the towers and everything, and at the back it's all like Georgian and but during the 18th, 19th century it did fall out of favour with the main royal residence. I don't think Victoria liked it much. So it's used as house and grace favour residence, which means people given royal accommodation. I think they still have them there. It's where I suppose that if you're a member of staff of the Royal and that, when you retire, you're given a residence there.
Not a bad place to
Not a bad place to go.
you know.
And it became more of an historical and ceremonial site rather than a palace that it was kept in. And obviously until from then to the public day, it's now open to the public and it's more like a museum.
Yeah.
But it's still preserved and a most important palace today. So who haunts there? Do you know who haunts there?
I'd imagine a few of his wives.
A few of his
I would
wives.
think, potentially.
Well,
I know he does.
But
allegedly.
apparently, yeah, he's meant to haunt it. They do say that they hear heavy footsteps echoing down the corridor and groaning and shouting. And they say that this is linked to his later years when obviously he was ill and
with his gammy wag and all
anger.
that. Yes.
He had a bit of a temper, did he?
Yes.
And Catherine Howard is one of the most famous haunted at the palace as well. So she's the one that runs down what's called now the Haunted Gallery.
Right.
Screaming for mercy before she's executed. So I think the story was that she was being arrested, but she got away from the guards and she then run down this corridor towards, I think he was in the chapel. And there's now reports of her screaming and crying can be heard.
Right.
And begging for mercy, apparently. And there is sights of a running female running down there as well. But they do say it's a classic residue haunting as well. Interesting, I saw a program the other day that said that it's got quite high electrical frequency, that gallery.
Okay.
So that could be something to do with it.
Is that that's because of what the wiring, or is it to do with the actual material that's been used to build
possibly
it?
both, I would imagine. But then saying that electrical wouldn't be around in the 16th century, 17th century. So
there was also that famous footage, but I don't know if it's been debunked or what, but at Hampton Court, when you see this figure, which looks a little like Henry VIII, bursting through, I think it was Hampton Court, through the fire exits. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I was about to mention that as well. There's one, I think it was the security guards saw on their cameras, the fire doors kept on opening.
Yeah.
And then there's one where you actually see a figure appear. It looks like it's got a big fur coat on.
That's right, yeah.
And it's like got a weird face as well. They called it Skeletor.
Right, yeah.
I mean, it's on YouTube, so it's quite an interesting...
Yeah.
It's quite an interesting... I mean, some of them debunk it, saying that, it's fake and all that, but... Yeah, interesting.
When it first came out, I remember at the time, because obviously social media wasn't quite the way it was. It was a bit more kind of jarring. So, crikey, this is a bit kind of unusual. But you just don't know, do you?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't say one way or the other unless somebody comes out and says, "Well, it was me, and I was dressed up."
Yeah, that's true.
But it's interesting stuff.
Yeah, and then obviously we've got Jane Seymour, who was the third wife of Henry VIII. Right. I did write this down, and she's said to appear near the Silver Stick Stairs. Which again is quite dark there, and there is an atmosphere there as well. But she is seen going up the stairs carrying a candle, and usually on the anniversary of her son's birth. Right. She died, I think, about a week or so later. She gave birth, but she's described as quite a calm and non-threatening presence. So she seems okay. And apparently, the last monarch to reside at the palace was George II. And his ghost is said to appear at the window overlooking the Thames. And according to the tradition, on stormy nights, his ghost will be seen in the Haunted Gallery. So he's in the same gallery as what, But
it's interesting how, these very famous people from history have been seen in multiple buildings. So it kind of makes you wonder, is it just a recording of some moment in time there, or actually... Are they spiritually able to jump around between all these places? I mean, I don't know.
Well, interesting you say that because I'm about to go into that. Yeah. So we're going into George II, where apparently he's there standing at windows overlooking the gardens, or he's in the Haunted Gallery. He's wringing his hands and waiting for news for Hanover during the 7-Year War. And one version says that he was distraught while waiting reports of the fate of his daughter Anne. And the Hanover troops, and witnesses supposedly hear him groaning and see a figure by the window dressed in royal clothing. And he's also heard calling out in distress. So he's not a happy ghost.
Yeah.
And they said that this is linked to his sudden death in 1760. Apparently, he died on the 25th of October of that year at Kensington Palace.
Right.
and he reportedly collapsed whilst he was using the toilet.
Oh, really? Crivens.
There you go.
That's a terrible way to go.
I know, that's all right.
Terrible way to go.
So apparently he was suffering from an aortic dissection, which apparently is a tear in the arteria, which is the main artery. So, yeah, you can understand why. Yeah. So we've got all that, loads of unseen presences. Anne Boleyn is apparently meant to haunt. I mean, they do say that she is there walking around with either looking very solemn or with no head.
Oh, God.
So...
Yeah. Ghosts with bits missing.
Ghosts with bits missing is quite terrifying,
It is terrifying.
I
think that would hugely disturb me.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't like that.
No. Yeah. Excuse me, I've got a story coming up at some point about a ghost with a bit missing, which is disconcerting. But what can you do?
Indeed. Well, we can help them see if they can find it, but it's a bit, but I'm not going to be much.
No, not much use now, really.
Not much use now, no.
Crivens. So, now, this next place you will know.
Oh.
Because you stayed there.
Have we been there?
We've been there. That's Dalmahoy House Hotel. Remember?
I remember it well.
We remember it well. So Dalmahoy House Hotel is a 1720s designed building, William Adam, and it's not too far from Edinburgh. And last year, myself and Karen were on a tour.
We were.
Of Witches Tour of Scotland.
Yes.
With a company called Mysterious Adventures, and we went around Scotland, which was rather interesting. And we stayed there, and I don't know about you, but I was writing about those staff, grilling them like kippers, wanting to know what the hell's going on with the spookiness. And they were pretty amenable.
Yeah, they did say about quite a bit of spookiness going on there.
They did. There's a few more coy people. In fact, there's a few folk I still haven't got my klooks into yet, but they were threatening to tell me stories. But anyhow, I, believing in perseverance, returned a little while back with a few of my friends. We had a wee sort of paranormal research group, and we went back. We got a window of opportunity to do an investigation there, and I just blagged it. Well, I didn't blag it. I phoned up and asked nicely, "Is it possible?" Because we were there. They were absolutely delightful. What lovely people, and the Douglas family that own it were fabulous, and allowed us to stay. And we went and we got put in the haunted room basically.
Oh,
we did, and. Not much happened.
Oh, I was going to say, did anything happen?
No, it was weird. But what happened was that we met some staff members who told us some fabulous stories. So it seems like it's a thing. So when we were there, basically, we had some psychic mediums with us, and there was a lot of people wandering around and picking up things, and it was quite interesting. There were stories of, dogs being seen in a room. I think it's called a Lennox room, and figures being seen walking by. And one of the guys in the desk said, "Oh yeah, my colleague had been walking up the stairs one day, and rather nice staircase, very grand. And there's a woman walking in front of him, except she was walking about a foot in the air, which suggests the steps' height had altered somewhat.
Yeah.
But he watched her walk up, taking the steps and vanish, which I thought was quite interesting. So anyway, Lady Mary is meant to be the ghost, and well, whether she is or she isn't, who can tell? But there's been a figure seen of a woman in various places in the hotel, and the room that we were in is the room that she apparently stayed in. And so she may or may not be the ghost. But however, we went there, we were trying to record things, and it was weird because, I don't use a lot of tech, but the meter readings and all that were funny. There was it seemed like there was some sort of electrical charge where there shouldn't be, because there was no, plugs or sockets anywhere near it, and it was just this one area in the room, which is very odd. And we used dowsing rods as well, which is quite interesting, asking the configuration of the room back in the day, and it was pointing to another part of the room which had been sectioned off, so we would have had a much bigger room back in the day. Anyhow, Mike the concierge said that he was given the job of, well, not given the job, he was given the haunted room to sleep in one night when he was staying late. And he woke up and he saw a woman at the foot of his bed. And the woman had long, sort of longish, shoulder-length, reddish hair, and was translucent, and was walking across the foot of the bed. And he just was sitting there watching her, quite a thing. And then she vanished through the wall, and the temperature was very, very cold at that point, which is quite creepy. People have, as I said, heard dogs running about, and as I said, this guy saw this figure walking ahead. However, I spoke to a guy, Alan was his name, and he was describing what happened during COVID, because they had to go in, multiple members of staff, and look after the building, security, check the CCTV cameras. And on one occasion, he saw a woman wearing what appeared to be a crown walking by, which is interesting. And another point, there was a white mist seen in one of the cameras, and so they investigated it and they slowed it down. And then when it was slowed down, it generally looked like a woman was walking across the bar. But Alan said to us, "Come with me. I'm going to take you downstairs into the basement to tell you a story." And we were like, "Oh, okay." So we all went down. It's very exciting. And we went down into the basement, and he said, "Yeah, well, we were in here during COVID, you see, and I was sitting in the office, and I was watching the camera, and the one position by this bar, I saw something shoot out the wall, like size of a melon," he said, really quickly, right through the wall. "What the hell's that?" So we went down and had a look. It's not there. So we went back, got the footage, slowed it all down, and it was a human head.
Oh.
It was a woman's head in profile with a blue-green tinge, pixelated, shooting out of the wall. And when it slowed down, you could just see it come out slowly, and just went through, boom, through the other wall. And he said he scuttled back up the stairs, slightly nervous about going back down. Whose head it is, I do not know. But it is interesting. I mean, that's just a selection. There's been a butler seen there. There's been a maid seen there. You name it. It's an ongoing thing. I generally think it's probably a haunted building. But like I say, we were there. We were fully expecting something, boom, cataclysmic to happen. But no, it's just typically when people are going about their business.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they're unaware of us and they're not bothered if we are doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
What the hell? But a head floating through a wall was pretty damn impressive. Very genuine witnesses as well. They're all very talkative. So that was all Dalmahoy House.
Yeah. Oh, perhaps we
good.
might need to do another visit there, I think.
So. Definitely.
Right. Well, I have got another well-known place. Tower of London.
Oh, yeah,
You say, that's not a park castle. It's not. It is. It's a fortified castle. So originally built by William the Conqueror in 1078. So it's really old. So which could also add to everything as well. And as with most things, it's got quite a gruesome history as well. It was used for state prison from the 12th century onwards, and obviously held quite a few prisoners, including Anne Boleyn and Guy Fawkes. And we know what happened to both of them. The site of several executions, and mainly there were high-profile figures that were executed there as well.
Yeah.
So obviously it houses the crown jewels as well, and it served as a royal residence of medieval monarchs. They also used an armoury, treasury, and menagerie.
Yes, I did read that. There was a wild,
indeed, all
one
kind of
strange, exotic beasts at the time.
Running around, yes.
Yeah.
And yes, so during the Tudor and Stuart period, it continued to be a prison and execution site. Had many, obviously, royal prisoners there as well. It continued to be that, and the role of it being a royal residence declined up until the 19th century and gradually transitioned away from military use as well. It was then began to be open to the public. So now, obviously, it's quite a huge historic landmark. And then during the 20th century, it was used in both world wars, where it held prisoners. And it's still a site of execution even then, including the spies of World War I and World War II. I do think, if I remember the story, is that they have got a chair there which they executed a prisoner who was a spy in World War II. It's still got the chair there which he was executed in, and it's damaged where you can see the bullets. So
yeah.
that's a bit ooh. And actually, it did actually suffer minor bomb damage during World War II.
Right.
So who haunts it? Do you know who haunts it?
Henry there? Oh, probably
Close.
one of his wives.
Anne Boleyn.
Oh, crikey, of course,
she's the most famous ghost of the tower. So she was executed in 1536.
Dear.
And she's reported sightings of her walking without her head and carrying it under her arm.
Yeah, I had heard that actually. That
or in her
sounds really...
hands. So she's seen near the Chapel Royal of St. Peter and Vittula. And she's one of the most reported apparitions there. So she likes to pop up quite a bit. There's a famous guard account that describes the white figure of a woman approaching him, smiling, and then removing her head. You wouldn't want to.
I just think that's wild. I mean, if it's true and if she's actually able to do that, isn't that just playing with people?
Yeah. Now, I remember I had a visit to the tower when I was younger, and I remember getting, those like books that you get, the guidebooks.
Yes.
Now, I'm sure I remember seeing this image because there's another report of a sentry charging at a figure with a bayonet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I had a ghost book when I was a kid, and I remember it's a drawing of the guy going, who was there? Yeah, that's correct.
And the weapon passed through them.
That is correct, yes.
Apparently, the guards are collapsed in shock.
Yeah.
Now, you would think, though, playing devil's advocate here, if you go charging at someone a bit, would that not be adding to the ghosts if they weren't a ghost?
If you died of shock, yeah, I suppose so.
Or stab someone with a bayonet.
Yeah, who was actually just somebody going about their business wearing a light-coloured chiffon dress.
Oh, dearie me. Yeah, so it would appear Anne likes to get around. She's reported haunts several locations, including Hampton Court, which you've just mentioned, Hever Castle, which is where she was brought up, Rochester Castle, Sale Church, and Blinklin Hall.
Crikey,
Blinklin Hall is supposedly where she was as a birthplace.
Right.
And she appears on the 19th of May, which is the anniversary of their execution, which wasn't that far off. 19th of May, it was only last week before.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So I wonder if she came then. So she is reported to... I don't know why I'm laughing, but she's reported to appear in a ghostly carriage driven by a headless coachman.
That's bizarre.
With her riding inside, holding her severed head.
That's... I don't know what to say about that.
I did see one report, though, where they said that the horses were headless as well. Now, I have a problem with that.
Yes.
Because how are you going to put the reins on them?
Or find out where the hell you're going, for that matter.
No. Well, yeah. Well, how would
the blind? Literally.
But also, you think, where would the coachman know if he's got no head anyway? So I think with Anne, it's a bit of a party trick, isn't it, really? Look, she's just showing off. Look what I can do.
Yeah, I know.
I can move my head, yeah.
Beach ball or something like that.
Oh, dear.
No, but it's terrifing, but I get it. It's become like a thing.
It is, yeah. So wherever Anne is, she likes to be there without her head. Another one of the spirits there is Lady Jane Grey, whose nickname of the 9-Day Queen, because she wasn't on the throne for very long and she wasn't crowned at all. So she was executed in 1554 and is said to haunt the Tower Green where she died. And she's quite a soulful, quiet figure, apparently. And witnesses describe a pale woman standing silently and often disappears without movement. But she keeps her head on. She doesn't take her head off.
Good for that. Stealing my party trick. We have an argument.
And we've got the famous princes in the tower as well.
Oh, yeah.
Which the two brothers, Edward V and his brother Richard of Shrewsbury, they disappeared in 1483, having lodged in the White Towers.
Yes.
And allegedly they were murdered by on the orders of their uncle Richard III.
Yes.
But they, nowadays they contest that he had anything to do with it.
That's correct. I remember reading about that, and I think it might have just been a I don't know, a political story to defame the guy.
him, yeah.
Because the evidence proves, but don't prove, but it suggests that maybe it's not always cut and dried as one has always
I
been
mean,
let go of.
I think historians are saying that they believe that they were both killed, but who, what,
Indeed.
they don't know. But apparently there have been sightings of two boys in white nightclothes holding hands in the corridor of the White Tower. And apparently they appear silently and then fade away together.
Yeah.
So, interesting though, in 1674, workers at the tower discovered a box containing skeletons of two small children.
Right, okay.
I think they were like 9, 11, or
Right.
the two boys at that age. And Charles II, who was on the throne at that time, had the remains placed in Westminster Abbey, where they're still there.
Okay.
And many people think that these bones could be the prince's, but there's been no conclusive proof that they had. And I think that they did examine them in 1933.
Yeah.
But the methods there was quite, it's quite primitive compared to today's standards.
Yeah.
And they have been debated for many years over DNA testing, but the Westminster Abbey hasn't so far given authorization for the testing. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the chances are they probably are, though, I would imagine.
Boys, yeah.
But I mean, also Henry VI as well, apparently, is said to haunt as well. According to legend, his ghost appears in the Wakefield Tower, where he's supposedly murdered. And stories describe him as a soulful figure dressed in royal robes, appearances around the anniversary of his death, and the sightings during the midnight prayers. So if you're praying there at midnight, then suddenly he pops up.
Well, I won't be doing that.
You won't
That's
want
what
to do that, yeah. There's also White Lady, seen at various points in the tower, described as a pale female figure. Suddenly appears and vanishes. I don't think they know who she is. Now, one of the strangest is a bear.
Ah, yes.
A spooky
yes, the bear, potentially
the
from Menagerie. Yes, I remember that. I read that as a kid and I found that quite terrifying after.
Yeah, but apparently the guards in the past have claimed to see a large ghostly bear charging towards them.
Yeah.
It's said to be linked to, obviously, when the tower had animals there as well. And one story is that a guard collapsed after seeing this ghostly bear and apparently died from fright.
Yeah, I did read it was a beef eater or something back in the day.
Yeah. So
Passed away of shock or something. I mean, I guess the ghost of a person, you can kind of, your brain can kind of quantify that in a way. Whereas maybe something like a bear or some lion or something like that. It's a bit more kind of...
Yeah, but I mean, there's general paranormal activity around there. They've got footsteps in empty areas, doors slamming and shut, sudden cold spots, and feeling being watched. So, like, general spooky stuff. So, but I must admit, the thought of a ghostly bear charging up at me.
Unless it was Rupert.
Well, I even think Rupert.
No, probably,
No, I don't think Rupert. No. I mean, you'd have to change his trousers for a start.
I think so. Do I haven't been in the Tower of London in years and actually forgot how many good stories there are attached to that building.
There's a lot there, isn't there?
Yeah, and going back, I'm just trying to remember, I always remember going by Traitor's Gate and finding that a wee bit gloomy and depressing. Think, the way the murky Thames is lapping at the steps. Think all the poor people that came in there.
Yeah, of course.
Oh my word.
Anne was taken in through that way as well, wasn't she?
That was it.
When she had her head.
Yeah. But once you're in there, that was it. There's no coming back from that.
Not many people come out.
Oh, dear goodness. Well, I've got a few wee nuggets now, which are quite interesting. So I'm just sort of randomly going ahead. I'm picking and choosing.
Lovely. Go ahead.
Some I may leave out. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Can I give you a really quick story now? That's not a huge story, and then I'll segue into maybe something a bit more meatier. This is from Weems. I can say it. Weems Castle in Fife.
Oh, love it.
Weems.
Yeah, I do know.
So I just thought it was a really interesting story, and it was posted in what's described as a London magazine of repute, circa 1920. And I did discover the story fairly recently in an archive, and I never heard of it before. And I thought, man, this was pretty interesting. So basically, the ghost of Weems Castle is the Green Lady. And at the time, the person who was living there was called Miss Weems. She was the owner. I don't know her age. I got a feeling she must be fairly young, I suspect, by being a miss, I guess. Unless, she never married, I don't know, but seemed like a young person. And she'd been there for 17 years. And in that whole 17 years, there never had anything spooky happen. Till one night when they had a joiner in, and the joiner was working in a small ante-room off the billiard room. So it was a fairly big room, and had a fireplace. The fire was on, and that was the only thing that was light in the billiard room was the fireplace. And she went to see what the guy was doing, and they're having a wee chat. And I often think maybe it's because of the work, whatever it might be, stirred something up. Because when she said goodbye to him and left him to his own devices, she went back through, and as she's getting back towards, the billiard table, there's a woman now standing, staring at her from the other side. Mm-hmm. So she freezes, and the woman sort of walks towards her. Now she's translucent. She's got a kind of, described as being neutral coloured. But when she starts to walk towards her now, so this poor woman's now freaking out ever so slightly. When the ghost gets near the fire, it takes on the colour of the fire, which I find quite interesting. So its colour changes. Yeah. And then it gets to the end of the table, and she's thinking, well, within 3 yards, this, whoever it is going to be here. But it turns at that point and walks back, I would imagine it would be to your left, and goes through the wall and vanishes. And that's really it. I mean, it's just an interesting story, but I haven't found anything else about it. I mean, apart from the fact there's meant to be a green lady. I mean, there's probably very little actual written accounts. Unlike Stirling, which is heaving with spookiness. Oh, yeah.
We've been to Stirling.
We have been to Stirling, yes. And Stirling's really famous for many things, but famous for its ghost stories. A very ancient castle. Probably my favourite castle. At least in my top 5 favourite castles of Scotland. I think it's a fantastic buildings. And it's got a very famous photograph attached to it, which I'm sure you will know. The one of the guy in the kilt, the soldier in Highland dress, walking through the archway.
Ah, yes.
Which was apparently the best-selling postcard ever in that castle, ever. Sold tons of these things. But Historic Scotland weren't too keen in promoting the ghostliness. So this was taken out. This is we're not having that anymore. And so it's not sold. But the attendant I spoke to said, yeah, they used to shift tons of them. Now, that photo was taken in the 1930s, and it's believed to be genuine. Very difficult to fake a photograph then. And it was taken randomly early one morning. And in 1952, an ex-soldier, I'm getting the name right here, I hope, Jim Thorburn, described a very similar thing. So it's not as if it's just then, it's happened not that frequently.
Yeah, recently, yeah.
But he was called in, him and his mate were the two guards on duty, and it was at 6:30, and the light was pretty good, so it wasn't pitch black or anything like that, it was light. And they were standing, just chatting as they passed, and the figure of a kilted guy was seen coming out of one of the buildings in the main square and just wandering off, who again vanished through the air, and they got a bit of a shock. So, it's a thing. There's an area there as well, and I think you would have probably been in it, called the Elphinston Tower, which is now ruined. So you've only got the bottom part. It's got a bakery, or would have been a bakery or some sort of kitchen. It's got a massive fireplace there. And that, well, I don't know about you, but when I went in there, out of all the places in that castle, I felt, God almighty, there's something in here. It was creepy, and everybody was like getting the hair up the back of their neck. And lots of visitor reports of people being there, being upset, including children. And one child crying because they'd seen the figure of a small boy standing in the fireplace. So that was quite a common thing. Terrifying stuff, though. But there are others, of course. So one attendant said to me while I was there that in the office, for example, they were chatting about ghosts. And this huge heavy planter, which he said weighed, a ton, not literally, but very, very heavy, was actually raised off the ground by about a foot and then dropped behind them to get their attention and crash. And they were like that. So there is definitely a presence there, but it's not just one presence, it's multiple presences. In the gallery, there's a kind of art gallery of some sort, if I remember correctly, or portrait gallery. One visitor described walking along, holding her child's hand, and then seeing her child run ahead of her only then realising that she was not holding her child's hand, but another child's hand, which was a ghost, which vanished, which is a little bit upsetting. And then, as I say, a kilted figure, another visitor with a brother, some man wearing a great kilt, and actually had a conversation with him, or tried to at least, and the guy kind of ignored them. And he turned around and he walked away and walked through a wall and vanished. So there's lots of stuff happening. But the worst one, well, worst and best, if you, whichever way you want to put it.
Yeah.
So I spoke to a guy, right, when I was there, really fine, down-to-earth guy, and he's going, well, historic Scotland don't like to talk about ghosts, but I don't care. We've had experiences, blah, blah, blah. And he was talking about some really interesting stuff. And he said he had a really fantastic, not fantastic, a scary experience, which I thought was fantastic. The Great Hall, the main hall, which I believe had been done up and taken back to what it used to look like, because I believe it was semi-derelict at one point, has a corridor running beneath it. And at night, he used to go down there, or whoever's on, switch off at least lights. So one day he's going down this corridor, which is pretty dark, it's not exactly bright light, but it's lit. And he sees what he thinks is an animal scuttling about at the bottom, because his eyes are kind of get adjusted to it. And as he gets closer, he realises it's not an animal, it's a person, except there's only the bottom half of them there. It's a pair of legs.
Oh, no.
And it walks straight in front of him, right through the wall.
Yeah.
And he took a few moments, he said, before he went further down to switch off the light, shall we say. But I said to him, well, you're not scared? He says, well, I was taken aback, he said. He's a very stoic man. I think I would have run. I think, as we said before, ghosts that have got bits missing, I find terrifying. But it wasn't like they'd lowered or heightened the ceiling or a wall to sort of, which might have distorted the ghost appearance. It literally was half a ghost, half a person. Yeah, so that was Stirling Castle. And I hope to go back. And again, there's much more than that, but that's...
Well, what I was weird when I was there, so I was on the phone. I think several people in our group had the same thing. I was on the phone, I think it was the battlement bit, and my phone kept going, it sounded like Morse code.
Yes, and I did the same.
I had about 86% on my phone. It went down to 2. I thought that was weird.
That is weird, because I actually, now that you've mentioned it, I do remember you saying that, but you weren't the only one. There was a lot of people had this. The battery, the energy from the batteries were drained, which suggests something unusual's happening, but suggests that maybe there's spirit energy around which is using the power somehow to get them boosted up themselves. But it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
That
was weird.
Yeah. But multiple wits. So you had all those phones acting up, and then also pretty much at least 7-8 people all saying that bit where the kitchen was weird, and they all felt freaked out there as well. So yeah, it was a very interesting day. I liked it a lot. It delivered, because castles are very interesting just as they are, but God, if you've got a good ghost story attached and you experience something, even better.
Indeed.
Even better.
Indeed.
Yeah. Good stuff.
So the next one was one that that loads of people know. I mean, I'm going through ones that people know already, but still they're good. So I'm going to go on. So it's Windsor Castle.
Oh, yes.
So, I mean, that's got a long history. It was founded in 1070s by William the Conqueror. So around about roughly the same time he done the Tower of London. And it was, at that point, it was like a fortress overlooking the River Thames. And it was part of protecting London at that time. So it was rebuilt into stone in the 12th century and expanded by several kings, including Henry II and Edward III. And obviously it then became a major royal residence. And then obviously as the years went on, we had the St. George's Chapel, which a lot of the monarchs are actually buried in now. And then Tudor period, it did include Henry VIII and Elizabeth I used it as well. So, and Henry VIII is buried in St. George's Chapel.
At Windsor.
Windsor. So quite a few of the kings and queens are there as well. And it's expanded in the Stuart and Georgian period. It continued to be a residency. But it did suffer damage during the English Civil War and was later restored and modernised by monarchs, including Charles II and George IV.
George IV. So George IV. George IV. That's George. That's George IV. George IV is always George IV's everywhere, isn't he?
George IV.
He got around.
Yes. So but then 19th century become the principal residence of Queen Victoria. She quite liked it because she had quite a big family and they'd all come in, and it was used by the royal family recently during the World Wars. And remained a key symbol of monarchy. And in 1992, there was the major fire, which burnt down quite a few sections as well. And obviously that's now been restored to its former glory.
Do you think that fire made any difference to spooky sightings? Or am I just speaking nonsense here?
What do you mean, increase?
Probably because of the refurbishments and the changes.
Yeah, they do say that they don't like changes, do they? So it does flare up. I'll have to look into that, see if that was a possibility.
Maybe nothing happened at all.
Yeah, so apparently Henry VIII stomps around the place, as well as Hampton Court. He goes there. So very similar to what they hear at Hampton Court, heavy footsteps and groaning and anguishing sounds. It's obviously linked to his later illness and his bad temper, as usual. Elizabeth I reported to appear in the Royal Library.
Yes.
Witnessed as described as a tall figure dressed in black.
Oof.
She'll suddenly appear and then disappear, but generally described as calm but eerie. And then George III is associated with rooms he occupied during his later life. Now, he's seen as a figure pacing up and down, standing by the window.
So that wasn't George. George II was the guy who he died on the loo. On the loo. So,
yes.
Yeah, okay.
So I think that's
George is confused
George III, yes, George III was his son, I do believe. Right. But his presence obviously described as subdued but slightly upsetting. And Queen Victoria is said to linger in areas connected to her private apartments. Her reports include a presence rather than a clear sighting. So you feel her. I mean, if you feel her, how do you know it's Queen Victoria?
I don't know. But it is odd when people say, like, Queen Victoria's ghost haunts certain places, but also the fact that Queen Victoria potentially saw ghosts herself. I find that
Indeed.
You know, I think that's interesting.
Yeah. Also, there's reports of a robed figure of certain corridors which they believe is a monk. Not a monk. It's pesky monks.
They're everywhere.
If you want to, if this is the first time you've heard us and you want to know why I've got such a aversive to monks, go back to listen to episode 1, then you'll find out. Now, this monk is briefly seen passing through walls and doorways. So they don't know who he is, but they think it was early history of the site. So quite a few bit of paranormal activity as well. Frankly, reports of footsteps in empty hallways, sudden cold spots, the usual feelings of being watched, unexplained noises at night. Testimonies from several staffs and visitors say about the heavy footsteps, like someone dragging themselves along the corridor. So this is associated to Henry VIII again, and the castle staff. So they have the sensation of someone is walking behind them, but when you turn around, no one's there. Often accompanied by footsteps stopping abruptly, and there's suddenly silence. Several witnesses of a dark figure moving through corridors, seen only for a moment before they pass off and disappear quickly. But there's one interesting one, a more recent sighting. A visitor in 2024 said that they captured a strange figure in photos inside Windsor Castle. The witness described it a white flash resembling the Queen, our late Queen.
Our late Queen,
with a handbag and coat. The same person insists it's clearly the Queen's spirit. Now, I've seen that photo. Have you seen the photo?
No.
No, it's going around the roads of social media.
Okay.
It does look like, I mean, the problem I've got with it looks like it's against a glass casing.
Right.
So you can see a hat and a black handbag.
Yeah.
So could it be that there was a picture or something opposite and that's a reflection?
Yeah.
Or could it be a ghost?
But I mean, I suppose if every other queen or king of Britain's been seen at some point, why wouldn't she?
She's looked of quite anguished, so you would think what's going on with the royal family. Perhaps she's a bit worried, you know. Now go somewhere nice, go to Britannia. She loved that place.
Let them get on with it.
But interesting, Queen Elizabeth II reportedly seen Queen Elizabeth I in the library. So yes, she saw quite a few. So
did she talk about it quite openly, do you think, or was she a bit kind of like?
I would imagine she wouldn't have spoke about it too much about it. No, I would say it's probably in the kept in the family. I do believe, I may be wrong, I have seen stories that King Charles have seen Queen Elizabeth I in the library and several ghosts at Windsor.
I think he might be a tad more vocal about these.
I think he is a little bit more. I'm sure he has spoken, but I don't think our Queen would have.
No, I don't think she was very stoic about it. Stoic about everything, really. She didn't give much away.
Yes, so very interesting place. I mean, those have long histories. It's a place that has got quite some history and quite a few stories with it.
Well, I've got a place called Belechin House. So it's castles and palaces. It's kind of castle-y. Is it castle-y? Does castle-y count?
Castle-y count.
Castle-y count?
Well,
or is it more housey?
Oh, housey castle.
It's big.
Let's give it.
Well, it was. It burnt down, but you know, it burnt down. But it's a good story. I'm going to chuck into it. I'll just chuck it in. So this is a derelict building now. So you had two beautiful wings on each side, symmetrically done, with a large main body of the house in the middle, and it was built in 1806 outside Aberfeldy. It is a very beautiful building, but in the 60s, a massive fire destroyed pretty much all of it, apart from one wing at the side, which I believe around 20 years ago, an antiquarian bookseller was living in, and he said, "It is not haunted, it is a load of nonsense, blah, blah, blah." However, it was described as being Scotland's Borley, as in Borley Rectory, and the Society for Psychical Research investigated it over a huge period of time, and it was in the papers for months. And so there's this huge debate still raging whether it was really a haunted house or it was just something that was latched onto by the papers and the public and became something bigger than it is. I really honestly don't know, but it is a really interesting story. There's tons of ghost stories attached to it. Built, as I say, in 1806 by Major Robert Stewart. It was taken over by Robert Stewart in 1834. He stayed there. He was a soldier, spent time in India. He was considered a bit of a mystic, which is kind of unusual for a soldier, but an eccentric at least. He started to look into reincarnation, stuff like that, which is, you know, set him apart from everybody else at the time, I guess. And he really believed that these things were I think he really believed these things were real or could work. And he used to discuss this quite openly with his family. And he had, I think, 14 dogs. Very big dog, very, very big dog lover. And he used to joke to his family that when he passed, he was going to come back as a dog. That's what he said, which was a very unfortunate thing for the dogs, because when he did pass, his nephew John Skinner inherited the house and thought, I'll get rid of the dogs. And I don't know if he did this because he was paranoid, he believed this really could happen as a cruel man, but he shot 14 dogs.
Oh, no.
Including
That's horrible.
I know, it really upset me because I'm a huge animal lover. This really upset me. But he killed the dogs and moved himself in there. And that's exactly what he did. And it was an absolute nightmare for them because soon after, what was reported was the sound of wet crashing bodies against the doors.
Oh.
So they had a thing that was, they basically got people around to investigate. They had the Society for Psychical Research there, and that's what they did. They went in and they decamped there, because you see, the house, when it was empty, when the dog killer man, as we'll call him, moved back to London, nobody would move into the house. They wouldn't move in the house. So the house sort of lay empty. So the successive tenants moving in there, and eventually one guy moved in there, and Marquis of Bute, that was him. He was a real big spiritualist. He really believed in it. So he thought, oh, wait a minute, with the story that's going around, I'll get the team to come in here. We'll live in it. We'll live and breathe this. We'll record it. That's what they did. But they weren't meant to advertise it. But somebody's spilling the beans. So the papers have got hold of it now. And their owner's furious because he says, this is bullshit, he says. He was in the papers demanding, he was going to take him to court. But the spiritualists believed it was, or the psychical researchers believed it was true. And there's a woman called Miss Goodrich Freer, I think her name was, who was like quite a socialite at the time, a lot of money, but also into spiritualism, moved in, and I think she wrote a book and she sneaked it out there, or she was involved in at least the alleged haunting of the B house, Aberfeldy, more or less, words to that effect. So you knew where it was, and they were not happy about it. Anyway, they all described seeing the same thing. They described hearing the sound of dogs running, but they feel dogs at their feet. When she was staying there, she said she woke up and she saw two paws at the side of her bed. And there was a ghost nun there as well. And the original owner who died, the eccentric guy's sister, was a nun, and she had stayed in the grounds in a cottage. And her and her friends, her and her fellow nuns used to come in of little holidays in the countryside. So she was seen in what's kind of a nun's walk area. And it stuck. Servants wouldn't stay there for very long. They were terrified. One guy woke up in the middle of the night. He said, I felt there was birds flying around the room in the dark, around his head. Creepy experiences. Anyway, it all sort of went away. Skinner, of course, the dog killer, as I refer to him, met his end in a rather unpleasant way, karmically speaking, run down by a truck in London.
Well, there you go.
So that was
I would say...
So anyway, the house
what
passed
goes
on.
round comes around.
Indeed, yeah. And it passed down to various people after that. But as I say, the stories continue. Nobody would stay there. They believed it to be generally haunted. The debate continues. It was described as the most haunted house in Scotland. I don't know. There's a whole book about it. It's very, very interesting. It's worth checking out in more detail. I've only just scratched the surface, basically, but it's a good story.
Very good story.
About the dogs, but I did not like that part about it, but there you go.
No, that was not nice at all.
That was that.
I keep the hallway light on, but the shadows never fade. Every corner whispers secrets of the choices that I made. There's a tapping at the window, though the wind is standing still, and a chill runs down my spine like something moving at its will. I tell myself it's nothing, just the creaking of the floor. But every night the silence feels louder than before. Lights on, still scared. You can't hide from what's already here. Can't run, can't breathe. Something in the dark remembers me. No matter what I do, that feeling doesn't go away. Lights on, still scared. The hauntings never There's a shadow in the doorway where I swear no shadow should be, and it moves just like a memory I'm too afraid to see. beside me, breathing echoes in my head. Lights on, still scared. You can't hide from what's already here. Can't run, can't breathe. Something in the dark remembers me. No matter what I do, that feeling doesn't go away. Lights on, still scared. The hauntings never fade. Maybe it's just trauma. Maybe ghosts are made of fear. But every night I swear I feel a presence drawing near. You can say there's nothing there, but tell